2020, and this is the weekly or bi-weekly backdrop design and usability meeting. And we get together and talk about the UX problems that are currently in backdrop and what we're doing to address them. We'll go around the room and do introductions for everybody. I'll start. I'm Nate Lampton. I'm a core committer for Backdrop CMS, and I'm just here to facilitate the meeting today. Let's go to Tim.
Hi, I'm Tim Erickson, St. Paul Tim. I am coming to you today from Deerwood, Minnesota, where I've been hanging out since the whole COVID thing started. And yeah, just here to participate. Talk to you later. Or move on.
Luke.
Hi, I'm Luke McCormick. I'm a web product manager in San Ramon, California, and come in to try to learn little bits about design and throw in what I can.
All right, Bennett.
Hey everybody, Bennett Lauber here. I am about 20 miles away from Washington, D.C. in Northern Virginia. I'm a usability expert. I just saw a tweet about 10 minutes ago and saw usability in CMS, and I said, hey, maybe I can help out. I love open source.
All right, thanks, Bennett. And Greg?
Hi, I'm Greg. I'm joining from Greece, where I'm vacationing and backdropping at the same time in love again. Perfect combination.
All right. Well, the first thing we have on the agenda for today is we have a whole section on the theme initiative, which is a large initiative that Luke is heading up, generally called the Ready to Wear initiative. Luke, there's a number of issues in this section. Would you be willing to take the lead on discussing these items?
I guess I should.
Okay.
I didn't realize I was this high in the agenda. All right. Well, we actually had a I basically took a week off from running things as I started a new job, but I did this week kicked it into gear again and had a productive meeting yesterday, where we moved things a little bit back into gear. Tim actually kind of signed on to the server and has added his energy to the project, which is a fantastic thing for it. Now I apologize. I'm actually looking at the agenda items right now to try to stay on point with these. You know what, let me actually throw it to Tim for a second, and I'll chime in when it's useful.
Okay. Well, I think 2 weeks ago, a quick reminder, my understanding is that we had kind of decided that the first steps was to get some sort of a demo site set up. We'd like for users to be able to spin up a demo site where they can try out themes. And we created an issue queue, have spun up a couple of issues there. And I think some of the first decisions now that we're starting to talk about are things like what that demo site is going to look like. Does it have real content? What is that content? Things like that. One of the things I was doing or suggesting yesterday, Luke and I had a meeting was, so one of the ideas is to have approved ready to wear themes that users can easily install and should sort of work out of the box. And I've been struggling a little bit with what the criteria would be for an approved theme, like what has to look good. So I started creating a list of, and I can share the link. I created a Google Doc. It's in the issue queue of just things like, the base, the core content type. So basic page, page and accuser should look good. Post should look good.
Hey Tim, I want to actually hijack back the control here because I have the inspiration at the moment, realizing that this is a good spot for Bennett. our new guest to be here, because the whole point of this particular item, of the particular theme initiative, is to help people like you, is to try to move this, you know, technologically very capable product that we have in the direction where you don't have to be a wizard, and in either technology or in design to actually bring a site up. And one of the things that Drupal has suffered with for years, and that Backdrop still, you know, deals with, is that if you it's relatively straightforward to bring up a Backdrop site that's functionally, that does all the things that a modern website does, but it's hard to make it look like a professional site. Like unless you hire a designer and technician, or are one yourself, it looks more like a hobbyist thing. And so the idea of this particular initiative is to package enough stuff and make it findable sufficiently so that people have the capability, without having to have deep knowledge, to launch a site and be able to choose from existing looks. Say, okay, you know, A, B, C, D, you know, picking options, and have those options come out and be sort of launch ready. So that's the goal. That's the intent. And so where we are on the project right now is trying to figure out, okay, which of these pieces do we actually already have, and we're just aren't packaged so that they're easily findable out of the box. And you know, what we found is that there actually are a lot of pieces. We might actually have all the pieces there, and it's just a question of assembling them and making them options that are findable to a novice, rather than you have to dig to find them, which defeats the purpose of them being usable by a novice. Like we have the pieces that are usable by a novice, but they're just hidden deep in the box. And at the moment we're trying to locate those pieces and make them easy to find right away. And if necessary, if there's things missing, we'll add those. We might polish some themes or add some demos. But that's the idea. Does that make sense to you? Like, does that sound like a valuable thing to you as a non-guru who had? You're the right guy. You had the interest to like jump into this meeting, which shows that you're like the audience we're looking for. We're looking for people that are looking to jump into something unfamiliar.
Yeah, well, you know, it's a lot easier for people to have a great default setup and change it than to give them a blank slate and say, but you can do everything. Yeah. You know, people are dumb. Let me tell you a story. This is from way back in Windows 3.0. I don't know if you guys remember Windows 3.0. Some of you guys may. But the default color was this kind of off orange and blue kind of theme. Yeah. That we knew it sucked, and the plan was that people would want to change it because they gave all kinds of different themes, and we thought people would change it to purple because they wanted purple. People just stuck with the default. Yep. So you got to use smart defaults and make the default be the best for the situation. I had another client. Here's an interesting situation. It was a prescription drug application, and they had a list of the most frequently prescribed drugs. Now you can imagine maybe penicillin is one of those drugs. The list was sorted alphabetical. So in order for them to prescribe penicillin, they had to scroll down to the P in penicillin to hit penicillin. But once they sorted it based on frequency, wow. The most frequent ones were up on top by the default. You know, you got to take it and optimize that. You need to understand the user experience. So you literally have to put yourself in the shoes of this other person on the other side of the screen. That's me, for now, and say, what does this guy know? I don't know squat about this, but I have a goal. And you have to focus on my goal, not your goal. And once you're able to do that, once you have empathy, that's the key thing, is empathy. I've been in some meetings where the development manager says, oh, but that user, he'll be too dumb to be able to figure that out, so we got to do this. And I'm like, mute. Like, wow. You have to have empathy. The end user doesn't have a computer science degree. I don't have a computer science degree. I've been doing computers since I had to darken in squares on 80-column columns and mailing them to the school district. But just look at the user experience and design a couple user journeys. Not everybody is the same. Some people are visual, some people are textual. So, and for marketing purposes, no one is ever going to go through the exact same front door. You need to have a door and a door and a door and a door, all the different maybe vertical markets that are already out there. Those are the themes that you might want to create. Who are the people that are most likely to use this CMS, to run their business? Are they real estate agents that are trying to list their sites? Are they people running Amazon stores? Are they this or that? Make themes of each of those so you can get all those people going. That's what they're going to want. And they're DIYers. I mean, I don't know how many of you have a Raspberry Pi running in your house. I have like 5. Just doing stuff. There's a lot of us nerd ass geeks that like doing this kind of stuff. But the more tools that you can provide, and you have to have the steps. It's all about the workflow, and it's not your workflow. It's my workflow. Do you have a domain? Yes. All right. Point the CMS, the DNS. Okay. Do you go through this? First, you got to do this and they want to be walked through that. And here's another super important thing. This not related, but it's an overall thing. Remember when you first learned to drive that you couldn't have the radio going because you were focusing all your attention on being able to drive? And no, turn the radio off right now, I'm driving. But now you can't drive without the radio going because driving is so mundane that you need to be listening to some good tunes to go through. The way that you think inside your brain got rewired. When you're a novice, and you guys have been using this system, I don't know how long you guys have been building this, you're not a novice. The person who's outside of that has absolutely no idea. And you have to realize that the way that they think about it is different than the way that you guys think about it now. And the example I gave of learning to drive when you first got your driver's license, or in the learning permit, or however, I'm going to give Nate some crap though. What, like 2 years ago? Anyway, he's young. And then they switch, and you switch to a different protocol. I don't know. I don't golf, but I don't know if you guys golf. But for now, I'd have to say, okay, first I got to put my hand back, and I got to look for the ball. But a golfer goes, oh no, and they know exactly how to do it. So the way that people think change. So you have to keep that in mind. So if you design the whole site, I've seen a quote where I wanted to make sure my grandma can use it. Well, your grandma only uses it once. You got to think about the person whose job it is now to come to this website and do stuff. And if they have to use a wizard for every single effing thing that they have to do, they're not going to be happy.
Hey, Bennett, I actually want to throw another part of the equation, because making it so that non-technical people is definitely part of the goal. But probably more important in this case is actually making it so that non-designers are able to use it. And I wanted to sort of ask.
What do you mean by designer?
A
user experience designer or a visual designer?
Well, yeah, but both of those. Although we tend to actually incorporate the user experience part of it natively into it. So I'm actually talking about more the visual design.
Okay.
But Luke, but we're really talking about themers, aren't we?
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah.
I mean, I would go on to download monster.com and pay the rights for like 10 different themes and then use those and you're done.
The problem is, right, one of the things we're trying to address is that there isn't a lot of those kinds of themes you can download, right? We want them to be out there so that you can do that. And right now you can't.
Yeah.
Or you,
Well,
well, you can, but it's very limited.
A little bit. I mean, it's important to note that we've actually factored a lot of the functionality that in other systems like WordPress, for example, is part of a theme. Those are incorporated in more powerful, user-friendly pieces inside of Backdrop itself. Leaving the theme as more of a visual layer. We've actually pulled most of the usability aspects out of the theme layer, but those are still important. Like when you bring up a site, you do need a layout. You do need, you know, the things that we factored out, and so that's actually been one of the challenges that we've been addressing with the initiative is that it's not simply enough to have themes, because the whole package needs to be there.
If I may jump in, what Luke is trying to say is that whereas in Drupal, a theme would define the layout and the look and feel of the site, these have been separated in Backdrop. So the themes for us are something that are skins. The layout remains or should remain the same. That's the goal. And all a theme does is it changes the styling, like the colors that are being used, the fonts, things like that.
Yeah. Do you guys have a thing where you could change buttons around? I've always like dreamed of a system that would sense whether you're on a Mac or a PC, and then if there's like an OK cancel, and then it swapped it if it was on the other one.
As in left, right side, you mean?
Yeah, well, you know, and as crazy it is, button order consistency is like one of the big problems still. And, you know, and if you have sort of a transaction, you're always going to have like an OK cancel. But the point I was saying is I'm on a Mac right now and everything is cancel OK. So if I have an OK cancel, you know, so the system sniffs and goes, oh, you're on a Mac, and it switches around. One of my dream dream widgets, I guess.
In 30 years of using Macs and PCs, like every day, I never noticed that they're different.
I've noticed, and there's quite a few apps that focus on usability that instead of asking the question and then saying yes or no, which basically require the person to read the whole text, is, do you want to delete this? And it said yes, no, and the buttons, the ideal button would say delete, don't delete, which are specific. There's no misunderstanding. Like, yeah, but yeah.
I have a collection of fun error messages that I've collected over the years.
Anyway, the point is that also, Bennett, for your benefit, we have the demo that Tim was talking about before. We already, and I've provided a link for that in the chat. We already provide a way for people to come and demo the software without having to have a server set up. So they just go to the site, backdropcms.org/demo. They just click a button, and then after 30 seconds or so, there's a full instance of a Backdrop CMS vanilla site spun up for them to just play around. The problem with that is that
it's up some virtual server somewhere.
Yes, yeah, exactly. So the problem with that is that you get a vanilla installation. The difference with Drupal 7 there is that we do have a couple, like, whereas in D7, when you freshly installed a Drupal 7 site, you'd get something that there's no content created. That's it. So we've changed that, and we have, so we have a basic page, we have an about page, we have a couple of menu items up there. So there's an about us page and your first blog post, which you can edit instead of create. But the thing is that an initiative that happened in the Drupal world is the Umami initiative, or the out of the box experience, which created a literal sort of like a missing there to use the word theme for a different person, for a purpose, sorry, a website that is actually something tangible. Like it's a website about recipes, so it has actual content there. So the idea is that we'll spin something with some content, and then we will allow the person to spin up a site, select different themes, and compare oranges to oranges. So it would be the same content and how it looks by selecting different themes. So that's the goal.
That's pretty good. And you know, it's the toothpaste commercial, you know, you never get a second chance to make a first impression. So when you spin up that site, you know, think about the very, very first screen that comes up. You get 20 seconds of that person's brain to decide whether they're going to do anything or not. So put a lot of effort into that screen. That, you know, you hit spin it up, whatever comes up right there, that's
yes.
your hub of, that's an important screen. So work on that.
So yes, the vanilla demo has been there for a while and it's been useful for the community. We test new features, we showcase to customers, but as you said, we are familiar with the workflow. Like we can spin up such a site, and then if we have a person which is new next to us, we'll say, here's where you go, that's how you download a few things, that's how you configure things. We know how to do that, those things. And the problem that we're trying to address, we're not gonna remove or replace that demo, we still need it, but we also need an additional way to sort of like spin a site for people that wanna see what you can do with, like visually within 20 seconds, as you said, visually see what you can do with Backdrop. So yeah, this is the whole initiative that Luke is the lead for, and it's a recent initiative.
Go
I hope
Luke.
that this provides, it provides a little bit more context for you.
Yeah.
That actually does make me think, Bennett, that on the demo sites right now, the very first thing that happens after you log in is you get plopped into the administrative dashboard, which is a bit much. It's just like everything you can possibly do all at the same time.
Yeah, I mean, maybe still let them have admin rights, but put them to a different homepage or something.
Yeah, or make that dashboard.
Welcome to Hotel California, and you could do this and this and this and this. And then, you know, the very first thing, think about the difference between recognition memory and recall memory. So if I were to ask you right now, what was the name of your 4th grade teacher, Luke? Put you on the spot, dude. Can you come up with that? It's kind of hard. I don't remember the name of my 4th grade teacher. So it's not something that you talked about in a while, I bet. Right? Yeah. So that's recall memory. But if I said Mrs. Jones, Mrs. Smith, Mrs. McAllister, Mrs. this, Mrs. that, and you go, oh yeah, that was my 3rd grade teacher, it's a lot easier. So that first page that you get up to, you know, based upon your search engine optimization and whatever keywords that you think your users have when they're coming to that page, that's what you want to fill that content with, a variety of different words that are in the keywords of what that person wants.
Although it's funny, I mean, you touched on the important point before when you said that there's, you know, different kinds of users with different use cases. I think actually one thing we have to really think about is the bifurcation you get when a potential site builder comes into the site, and not just who they are, but what they're thinking of at the time. Like they're thinking of building a site. So are they thinking in terms of their experience they're going to have as a site builder, as somebody constructing it and owning a site, or are they channeling their users and being, okay, what are my users going to see? And I think anybody that's contemplating a new system is heavily concerned with both. I mean, I don't think we want to choose one or the other. We need to make sure whichever one we choose, the other path is very, very handy. So like, for example, if we continue to have it so that puts it into the dashboard, right, which I think is actually, you know, I advocate for it, so I'm a fan of that. But I think it's important to make sure that from that dashboard you can get to the site very obviously and very directly. Like that can't be a difficult path. That's got to be a very downhill. Like, here's your site, click, boom, right?
Yeah. Well, what you do is you make an optimized landing page that addresses the needs of all those users that are going to be coming to that landing page. That's why I said you spend a lot of time on that page to get it right.
Yeah.
And you know, I don't know what key areas you guys are focusing on. People can tend to understand things in chunks of 7 plus or minus 2. So do 5, 7, or 9. and people will be able to remember those sort of things in those chunks. Don't do anything that's 8, you know, but you might have a couple main call to actions and then have some other call to actions down below. But basically that landing page is just a hub, to all the other spots in the site that's been created with these not existent at this time themes that are addressing that particular market segment that was based upon that. Yeah.
Yeah. On the Drupal end, at some point recently, maybe the last year or couple of years, what they've done is their landing page has these personas of people. More looking at it more from a marketing perspective. So if you're a site owner or a site builder, or I can't remember what it is, and we do have an issue for that in the Backdrop CMS side.
That's a great landing page where you have a picture of a cartoon. I'm sorry for interrupting. A picture of a cartoon or something that says, "I am a site owner looking to upgrade to get rid of my current CMS." And they click on it, and now immediately we know that person knows what a CMS is. We could ask them which one it is, and go from there. And
Exactly.
or I am a totally new user. What the hell's a CMS? You click on that, and it goes down that path. That's a great landing page.
Yeah, and I think it was one for the developers as well, or something like that, and one for site
I'm a
builders.
developer.
Yeah,
I'm looking. Exactly. I have this. Where can I host this? And I don't know if you guys have hosting partners or how you're funding any of this.
No, we don't have anything specific. Although there's people that can register on the site and say that they're providing services and define which services. But yeah, we don't endorse specifically someone.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm gonna download this after and try to install it on my server. So I'll get a spot somewhere.
So, Ben, I have a suggestion, which is one of the things we did a while back was we created in our forums some sort of self-directed simple usability studies. And one of them is, and they're basically just like, try to do this and then give us feedback on whether or not that works. And one of them is set up a free sandbox site to evaluate Drupal or to evaluate Backdrop. And go to our website and do that and let us know, one, how the experience was. Was it easy? Was it satisfying? Did you get what you wanted? And I'm going to put the link to that usability study in the chat right now. And it would be really great if you could do that one thing for us, which is just so I'll yep.
And I'll give you feedback on the study too. Don't ask this question this way. There's a famous study, the Loftus and Loftus. They showed these cars crashing, and then they asked them, how fast were the cars going when they crashed?
Sure.
Then they had another group, and they said, how fast were the cars going when they bumped? Showed them the exact same video, and there was a significant difference in the speed that they said. So you got to be careful when you're asking questions.
Yeah.
I'm thinking because Bennett's feedback will be valuable, but he's not part of our forum or chat. What would be the easiest way for you, Bennett, to sort of like participate? Would you prefer to sort of like register an account in our forum and then start some topics there? By all means, do so.
Yeah, okay.
And that helps future.
You know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna download it, and I'm gonna try to install it. I mean, you have a how-to guide on how to do. You know what? In how-to guides, you talked about the out-of-the-box experience. Wow. Try the installing of something on OS 2. They made you address the configs.sys file and the autoexec.bat file and the path file. And Tim's got this ear-to-ear grin on his face because he knows what the hell I'm talking about. I was like one of the biggest advocates for installation programs that automatically did that stuff for you. The out-of-the-box experience is the most important thing. And, like Apple Computer, they extended that all the way to the packaging of the hardware. They have everything just like so Apple. It's beautiful. So yeah, focus on that out of the box experience. Try to understand the pathways that people have to go through them, and you will be great. And it's all about market research. You need to understand who your who your market people are. I'm sure there's tons of data on other Drupal market shares of like what kind of people use Drupal for this site or that site or this site. So I'd imagine that your market would be pretty similar to that. People like myself who are dissatisfied with Drupal 8, and now that there's Drupal 9, I'm like, what is that going to be even more bloat? I don't know. End of rant.
I'm interested in one thing. How recent is your most recent experience with Drupal 7? Like, when was the last time that you worked on a Drupal 7 site?
This morning.
Okay, cool. I would really just, besides the link that Tim provided on how you get to spin up a site. Oh.
There you go.
Yeah. I'm interested, like, if you try to do, because the theory is that the whole goal is that we are the continuation of Drupal 7. So things should be, for a person that has Drupal 7 experience, things should be familiar. Like, you wouldn't have to learn more. And at the same time, because we've been improving the product for like 5-6 years now, things should be less frustrating. Things that were annoying in Drupal should be less frustrating. So I would really be interested for you to just try to do normal.
You know what? Can I take a theme? If I purchased like a professional theme that was made for Drupal 7, would you guys be able to import that and use it?
It would need some tweaking, because as we said, we separated the layout from the theme, the skinning bit. So it would need a little bit of.
Because I bought like a big bundle. I have all kinds of, so-called sites that run under Drupal 7. Do you guys have a like a translate program where I could like add a module to my Drupal 7 site and then add a module to your guys' site and say synchronize them, and it takes all the data and does everything easy?
So are you referring to getting the content out of the Drupal 7 site?
Yeah, because I have 5-6 years worth of blog posts and stuff that I wouldn't want to lose if I'm switching over.
Yeah,
Tim,
you can actually
Tim was about to go. Yeah.
You can actually upgrade Drupal 7 sites to Backdrop. It's not
upgrade. Yeah, upgrade.
in the upgrade, basically what that will do is convert your database to work with Backdrop. And so you'll have all your same content, but you will need a new theme. You're going to need to do some other things as well. It's not like your site is just going to work 100% in Backdrop that quickly,
right?
But you might get all of your data almost that quickly. There's instructions on how to do that on the site.
Well, I think that's going to be an important experience, because people they're not going to just want to start from scratch. So if you could somehow optimize that pathway, I think that would probably help a lot.
And trying that and giving us feedback on the process would be a huge contribution. If you just tried to have somebody like you try to upgrade a simple Drupal 7 site and just tell us what works.
Yeah, I got a whole bunch of them. I have some throwaway ones out that are running that I can use. That's not going to destroy my business.
Yeah. So a lot of popular modules for Drupal 7 are already in Backdrop core. And because we've been around for quite a few years, we've ported most of the most popular ones in the hundreds. Like views and chaos tools and yes. So views are in core already. So the theory behind it is that very simple modules that are built for Drupal 7 might just work with Backdrop without just a single line of code.
Insert legal disclaimer here.
Yes, so the more complicated your module is and the more complicated stuff it does, of course, it's going to need some conversion, but yeah.
And that's what's great about open source, because once some dude figures out how to do that, they'll post it back up and then everybody gets to benefit.
Yep. So as Tim said, really, we are all really interested for you to just play around and try to convert to one side, or just spin up a demo and just let us know what we're doing good, what we're not so good, and what things can be improved.
Well, the hardest thing for guys like you, and I'm not being mean or anything, but you guys are like so intent on this system that you never get to see the person on the other side of the screen and have empathy for them and try to understand who they are. That is the most important thing that you guys need to realize. You're a select group and you have your blinders on this, and they don't. You know, they're thinking about, well, now they're thinking about how to get their rent paid.
One of the things that we're trying to do is look at other systems, like especially WordPress, which is really popular, and see,
Yeah.
like when we're trying to implement an improvement or a UX, fix a UX pain point, we are always trying to look at the competition, so to say, and see how they're addressing the same issue.
Yeah.
Some things
Never heard of
are
WordPress.
yeah, so some things may be compatible, some others not. We might get some good ideas, but yeah, that's the
Right. Yeah. And then the database of modules. And did you guys use the same terminology as Drupal 7? So like modules and themes and
yes.
all that? Okay, that's
So
good.
there's one additional. So there's I think that the common terminology to call all these things were projects, and that's what we call them as well. We call them projects or add-ons, depending on where you're coming. So we introduced another one, top level sort of like project thing. So in Drupal, you had modules and themes and profiles, of course, but we have all of those plus layouts. So
Right.
the layouts.
You separated out that UI layer.
Yes, and Core comes with quite a few of them installed already, and there were a few contributed ones, but from what everyone that has been using Backdrop is saying, they either build their own custom ones or they just use the core ones and they're enough because there's like a dozen of them and they cover most needs. So
I mean, if you could afford it, you're going to do a custom layout and and rock it. If you can't, you're going to use one of the regular ones until you can.
Yeah. And in the recent couple of years, I think last year or so, we also introduced a layout template builder in the UI, so you can build your own layout within the admin interface. Like you specify how many rows, each row, how you want to divide it in how many sections, and then you can put
so many of those.
Yep. Okay.
Layout builders, template builders. I've designed so many of those. It's ridiculous.
That's really cool. All right, I think having you here, Bennett, sidetracked the whole thing, which is a good thing in this case. So we didn't get to talk anything about it in the agenda, but
this is honor John Lewis. It's good trouble.
Yes, exactly.
Right.
It's something different as well. Because pretty much these meetings go like.
Well, why do you think I signed on? I'm sitting here and like I need something different. Oh look, usability CMS. Okay. Yeah, I mean, how many? Everybody's stuck in their house, and I don't want to go out there and die. Geez.
Yep.
Well, one thing I think we should cover at least is anything that Luke has currently blocking the Ready to Wear initiative.
Blocking is always the most important thing.
Luke, are there any things that you could use some assistance with, or where other people, other volunteers can put forth their effort?
Yeah, not really. I mean, there's a bunch of things they're in my hand that I'm not blocked on. They're not exclusively me, as Tim knows, for example. He jumped in and said, "Here, there's definitely space for others to do things." But I think. I think we're embarrassingly close to sort of an initial vision. The sandbox site that I have on Pantheon needs a little love and care to make it so that it could be turned into like a tugboat thing. Mm-hmm. I think it just needs a few hours of site building put into it to make it a sort of demo space to reach the point where opinions about it could be kind of collected and it could be tuned into like a releasable sort of thing. So but right now it just needs some man hours.
Okay, and that's where you're putting together like the default content and assembling what a site would look like when you spin up a demo of a particular theme. Is that right?
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay. And do we need anything product side I see that there's some commentary in the agenda here about promoting certain themes, or I'm not sure how you would actually get into one of the demonstration sites. Are we planning on doing something with the installer or from the appearance page or anything like that to link those things up?
Only if it's good. I mean, ideally, if this stuff ends up being effective, if it ends up being something that's compelling, we'll want to promote it. But I think we'll know when we're at that point.
Okay.
There was a discussion at some point, Nate, that we should remove the whole notion of disabled themes, and that we have an issue for it.
Right.
So because
Right.
it's a bit silly now that you still have disabled themes that are still active, or you can you can do things with them.
I think
And if that happens, yeah, sorry, go ahead, Dean.
I think there's a couple of issues that would affect core down the road that are being discussed. But in terms of this first step, like an approved theme simply means that we would have that pre-installed on a demo site. Doesn't mean anything more.
Okay.
But it could eventually, they might be displayed differently in core.
Okay.
they might
Exactly.
have- and there
So-
are issues for that. Go ahead.
Yeah, we already have the promoted modules issue, which was specifically for modules, but it can be for themes as well. And we don't know if for themes, so themes differ when it comes to modules, and themes are something that requires screenshots and then you see it. So we might have a differently styled page for them so that people can see what they're sort of like picking. But yeah, the main idea and the whole concept would be basically the same as in promoted modules.
Got it. Okay, so right now we're basically building something that is a standalone. Here's where I can go and check out the themes that are getting approved as being like, these are the really nice ones, and you can try them out. And then after we have that part set up, then we can start linking into that from other places, including maybe backdropcms.org and the product and the theme listings page, and maybe from the installer. But first we need a place to actually link to before we do any of the linking up. Okay, that sounds like a great plan.
Yeah.
I mean, to extend the ready to wear metaphor, right? We're designing the clothes now. We're getting it so that you've got just like one suit on a model, and then once that looks good, then we'll worry about building the factory to make more suits.
As Jen said, we might need a few contributed modules like a theme changer, something like that, or the style guide so that people can see what things look like. But this will come way later. I think that the main focus now is decide if we're going to be generating the content like from a module or something from an installer profile, or we're going to try to port or hook into the whole Umami thing, which has ready open source, ready to use material. So we put that together. Once we have the content, we sort of like decide on content types and things that would showcase, for example, the various layouts or views or what have you. And then once we make sure that that looks good and on basis, then we'll introduce like a theme switcher or a theme browser or something like that, and allow people to just see what their site would look like if they switch themes. That's the whole idea. That's the goal.
Yeah, people are gonna like that. The sooner you can get that, the better, because people are gonna click, and then they find something that they like. Then they go, okay, this is cool. I'll get this. Boom.
Yeah.
Okay, that sounds like a great plan. I'm glad to hear, Luke, that you're able to proceed with that, without any impediments. So it's 1 o'clock. That normally we have an hour-long period, and then the next meeting, which is developer focused, starts about now. So I'm going to end this meeting if that's okay with everyone, and then you can join back in again at the same URL, and we'll start the developer meeting.
1 o'clock. It's 4 o'clock. What are you talking about?
I'm sorry.
No, it's 3 o'clock.
In case you haven't noticed, it's 11 p.m. here. So,
It's so California centric.
All right. Well, thank you guys all for joining the meeting, and those out there on the internet that watch these, we appreciate that too. So thanks, guys, and we'll see you guys maybe in a minute for the dev meeting. Bennett, it was great having you join. We really appreciate that.
yes,
Thanks for
thank
coming.
you.
Yeah, I'll play around, see what I can do.
Okay. Bye.
Thanks.
All right,
everybody.
thanks.
Tweet at us or make sure we have your contact info.
10-4.
All right. Bye. Thanks, everybody.
Over and out.